get weird responses from people who aren't used to being in a really strong headquarters position, where people will try to take their leg and circle their foot out for you. If they try to do that, just let them. Okay? You would be surprised how often that happens. Even black belts that aren't used to this just do it all the time, and I'm just like, hey, you know, like, you just let them do it. It's not a big, you just take the pass, okay? But now, there's times when you windshield wiper on top of the guy and he knows what's going on, so he just keeps his knee turned out really well and keeps a lot of pressure on his foot, okay? Or he just doesn't let me get to the inside, okay? Like, it is preventable. Everything, you know, a lot of jiu-jitsu, they talk about it like a chess, but it's not really like chess. It's not like I do something, then you do something, you know, because a lot of stuff is really easily countered. Like this can be just countered by not letting me do it, just having good pressure, okay? So now we start getting into the other pummel pass stuff, all right? Now, it is gonna get a little more complex from here, okay? And just keep in mind, if it doesn't feel comfortable when you're floating on someone and doing that, like when I first started doing this, it wasn't very easy for me to do. I didn't feel like I could float comfortably and be like advancing my position. I had to feel like they let me sink down first. And when I got better at it, I started going for offense, even while I'm like up in the air and lifted. So it does get better, okay? But now let's say I got my foot on top of that foot and I just couldn't really get to the inside, okay? The big advantage you get from getting your foot on top of their foot here, though you get like 5 big advantages, but there's like 3 I think are really important, okay? One, obviously, it lets you get to the inside position sometimes, okay, most of the time. And that's obviously extremely potent, okay? The other thing that it does is it lets me collapse his hip across a lot easier, okay? So if I can get my foot on top of his foot, something I can do is I can start to put my weight on my left knee, okay? And my knee is on the outside of his knee in a position where he can't really punish me for this at all. Like, he can lift me up and move me around and stuff, but he doesn't get anything off of that. So also, the more they lift me, like I said earlier, the weaker his frame gets. So it's actually good if he lifts me a little bit right now. But if he doesn't, what I'm looking to do is take my knee and start to turn it towards the inside here, okay? I'm trying to collapse his hips as much across as I can. Sometimes you get guys that collapse all the way down, and this is awesome. You just start to either take the pass over the top, or you pin it and you start to circle around towards the outside, okay? That would basically be best case scenario, okay? People with better frames might not let you collapse that far, okay? So in a situation like that, I'm trying to collapse him all the way, and he starts to realize, oh shit, I made a mistake, and this is as far as I get. Now all I do is I just start to put my right foot, I am gonna let go of his hip down there, so I have a time limit. I'll put my hands on the mat side, all right? So I do have a time limit, because as soon as I take my leg off of that bottom leg, he'll try to square up, okay? And once he squares up, I'll have a problem. So what I'm gonna do is here, and just start to replace it. Just like, don't let me collapse as much, because like right there is usually where you get stuck on better guys. All I need to do is just get my leg to the outside of his leg, and then you can just slide down the side control. And he's gonna try to turn into me, but once I get my right leg on the outside of his leg, let me just go back through. Like, it doesn't really matter. It's blocked at this point. Here, so if he turns into me at all, you see it just doesn't make a difference. It just kind of like slides me up towards knee on belly. And that's ideal, okay? Ideally, he doesn't turn into me at all, because I just collapse his hips. Otherwise, I'm just looking for outside positioning in a way that's gonna get me down on his hips here, right? And now, you know, from knee on belly, I'm just going for the head, looking for underhooks. Like I said, if they really bridge, I just go to the other side. So, from the headquarters, I do get on top of his hip here. I don't feel like I can get to the inside. And a lot of times when I try to get to the inside, that's what makes them push their knee back into me, and makes it really easy for me to feel comfortable replacing my legs towards the outside, okay? So we can do the replacement, or we can do full collapse, okay? On full collapse, I do want to keep him pinned at the end, okay? So what I mean is, like, I'm gonna keep something on the back of his knee no matter what. It could be my left knee right now, or I can take my hand down and block it. Now I feel like I can move around without him just opening up back into me. Or what I generally do is start looking for upper body attachments of any kind, even if it's him underhooking me, okay? Because then I can whizzer him, or I can just grab his hips, and this is great. Now I just keep my left knee pinning his hip down until I can put my right foot or my right knee over top of it. And once my right knee or foot is over top of it, now, like I said, this foot's free to move around. He still can't turn into me. He can only turn away from me, okay? He'll try to turn back into me, and then all I'll do is just windshield wiper myself into a leg drag. Okay, so like if he turned into me right now, you see his hips would be completely shelved, and that would be a leg drag finish. Otherwise, you'll keep them pinned like this just a little bit longer, and you'll just go full side control. You'll start looking for any kind of grip up here. Sometimes they keep turning away and chase their back. A lot of times they just turn into you, and you just cover their hips in any way, okay? So one more time. From here. Okay, I get my windshield wiper either from here or hands on the mat. Can't get to the inside, so I start looking for outside. I can do full replacement, okay? And I can do full collapse. The specifics of how you finish that aren't necessarily the most important. You just have to make sure you keep his hips turned away from you. So I'll use my knee, I'll use my hips, I'll use my hands. Anything I can do to keep his hip turned while I move around, okay? So any questions on those two different finishes? All right, grab your partners.